Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Huh? So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Hey, we want to shout out to our sponsors, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you are a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of comic book conventions, and if you like meeting comic book creators and getting comics and comic-related stuff, then you need to make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con. This year's show is September 7th and 8th. Silverline will be there, so you should make your plans to be there too. We'll see you there. If you like comics and find yourself in the Orlando, Florida area, doesn't everyone come to Orlando at some point in time to see the House of Mouse? But when you're here, you need to make it a point to visit Coliseum of Comics, especially the one on East Colonial Drive. They carry Silverline Comics, even a limited edition Coliseum of Comics version of our comics. So, when you go, be sure to ask for Silverline Comics and tell them we sent you. OCD stands for Orlando Collector Deviants. OCD, Steve and Trish, they're a family of geeks who promote geek things, particularly those around the Orlando, Florida area. They're big supporters of Silverline, and we think you should be supporters of theirs too. Go give them some love. If you are an independent comic book maker and you need to get your independent comics made, you need to look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our books, and they do a bang-up job. They're not only trusted by Silverline, but many independent comic book makers. Head on over to kablam.com and see for yourself just how easy it is to have your comic printed by them. And tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kilber, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday nights as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Curtis, all right.
Yes, sir.
We're live.
All right. I'm live. All right, everybody. So welcome to our panel, the Silverline Comics panel for Comic Conway. This panel is titled What Are Cat and Mouse, Kayless, and Divinity? I'm Kurtis Fujita, the creative director at Silverline. I'm also the editor on the Kayless series and an artist with experience in comic books, video games, and animation. I'm going to go ahead and introduce everybody, but we're going to introduce everybody a little differently. We're going to talk about the specific book series, and then we're going to say what the creative teams are, and then I'll give a little bit of a biography for each person. So I'm going to go ahead and just give a little presentation here so that everybody can see if I'm sharing my screen now. So again, here are our three titles: Cat and Mouse, Kayless, and Divinity. All right, our guests today with the creative team for Cat and Mouse is writer Roland Mann, penciler Alex Gallimore, penciler Webba Fett, inker Barb Kailberg, and colorist Roberta Conroy. And then we have Team Kayless. We have writer-creator Brent Larson, and letterer, and also our graphic designer and the author of Man in the Mask, an artist in Man in the Mask, Mike Belcher. And from Team Divinity, we have the creator and inker, Barb Kailberg. So that is our team, and we're going to go ahead and I'm going to give you a little information about them, and then we'll get down to it. So first up is writer Roland Mann. Roland is a writer, professor, and former Marvel Comics editor. He is the founder and head honcho of Silverline Comics and the creator, writer of many acclaimed books, including Cat and Mouse, Trumps, and Demon's Tales. He is the driving force of everything Silverline does and everything Silverline loves. So let's welcome Roland Mann to the digital stage or online stage, virtual stage. All right. And then we have, this is all, I'm going to start with Team Cat and Mouse. Alex Gallimore. Alex is a graduate of the Kubert School and a resident of Texas. He draws inspiration from artists like Greg Capullo, Sean Murphy, and Stuart Immonen. But he has a style and energy all his own. His illustrations have not only graced the pages of Cat and Mouse, but have electrified the covers of other Silverline titles like Twilight Ground. Welcome, Alex. And our next penciler here is Webba Fett. Webba is the penciler on the upcoming Cat and Mouse miniseries, which takes place with our titular heroes in the deep underworld of voodoo in New Orleans. He brings a refined yet visceral energy to his work, and we are happy that he is the newest member of our Silverline family. And rounding out Team Cat and Mouse, we have Roberta Conroy. Roberta is an artist hailing from Los Angeles, California. She has worked in comic books, magazine publishing, and commercial art. She began her career as part of Malibu Comics' innovative digital coloring department and now works as a graphic designer by day and is coloring for Silverline Comics on the titles Cat and Mouse and the forthcoming Champion and Miss Fury. Welcome, Roberta.
Hello.
And we're going to move on to Team Kayless. All right, we have writer, creator Brent Larson. Brent Larson is the creator and writer of the highly regarded comic book Kayless. His pulse-pounding writing captivates readers with a cinematic flair that is distinctly his own. He has a background in film writing and hails from Orlando, Florida. Welcome, Brent.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And letterer, Mike Belcher. Mike W. Belcher is an award-winning graphic designer and the creator of the fan favorite Man in the Mask comic book series, collaborating with his son Aiden, who also colors the book. He is the letterer on Kayless and contributes much of his graphic design talent to the overall look of the Silverline brand. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, how's it going?
All right. And on to Team Divinity. Barb Tailberg. Barb is a veteran comic book inker with over 30 years of work with some of the biggest publishing companies in the business like DC, Marvel, Image, and Malibu Comics. She is currently inking Cat and Mouse and is the creator and inker collaborating with writer R.A. Jones on the critically acclaimed comic book series, Divinity. Welcome, Barb. Okay, so introductions out of the way, we got that out of the way. So let's go ahead and I'm going to kind of start talking to our writing team for the different books, and then we'll go into the visual side of things. I would be interested, let's start with Roland, and everybody else, all the other writers just kind of start thinking about it, or creators start thinking about it. Give a brief summary of your series, what genre it fits in, you know, essentially what's your elevator pitch, what's your story about your book. So let's start with Roland. Tell us more about Cat and Mouse.
Absolutely. Cat and Mouse is a story of Brett, who gets a telephone call from his ex-fiance, and she says, hey, my kid's sister ran away. Would you go get her and bring her home? Well, it's his ex, so he doesn't really want to do it, right? But Brett is studying to be a police officer, so he says, well, let me see what I can do. So he goes to New Orleans only to find out she's been caught up in a human trafficking ring. So he has to figure out how to get her out of the human trafficking ring and get her home. And yes, there are ninjas involved. That's our first arc. And since Wubba is here, and we'll be talking about that as well, the second story, the one that takes place after the Alex penciled series, it basically takes up right after that. So the first series is we kind of see the duo. It's kind of their origin, really. We kind of see them get together. We see them get established in New Orleans. We kind of build their support staff there. And then the second series, we continue to have human trafficking as the theme, kind of the underlying theme of what the bad guys are. Because Cat and Mouse is you asked for the genre. It's really kind of a crime, superhero / crime. It's a street level superhero. It's not like Superman and Green Lantern flying around and all that kind of stuff. It's more street level, Batman, Daredevil, that kind of thing. But in the second arc, we're going to introduce voodoo elements from New Orleans. It's one of these things, from volume 1. I wanted to touch on. I had this voodoo story. This is not the same one, but I had this voodoo thing that I kind of wanted to do, but we never got around to doing it. So I don't think you can do New Orleans without touching on voodoo in some kind of way. And so the second arc will still be human trafficking, but we'll bring voodoo elements into it, and I'm very excited about it.
Excellent. Well, let's go ahead. Let's hear a little bit more about Kayless. Brent, would you be so kind to kind of explain to people about Kayless and what it is?
Sure. Kayless is kind of a superhero / government conspiracy book. It deals with the story of what would happen. It's a question that everyone's asked themselves at one time or another in their lives, which is, what would happen if the CIA sent a mission into space? And this is actually what happened. In the 1960s, the CIA sends up a secret array of astronauts on a special mission, and they disappeared. And then today, their ship crashes back to Earth, actually blows up in the atmosphere with one occupant who crashes through the atmosphere, lands on Earth unharmed, and begins his quest, which is to find a way to get back to where he came from. And throughout the story, the first arc will be wrapping up here in a couple of months, but the first arc concerns him meeting some of the people that sent him into space, and also finding out why people are trying to keep him from going back into space. What is it that he saw up there? And what does it mean for the rest of the future of humankind that he actually gets back in time? And that's the nutshell of the first arc. The series will go on past that, and we'll find out just basically why did the CIA ever even have an astronaut program in the first place? What is the secret organization that has been trying to stop knowledge of this outer space phenomena from becoming common knowledge? And why is it so important that eventually this truth comes to light? That's not really, that's a pretty huge nutshell. I realize it's academia nut sized, but anyway, I think that sums it up. I don't know if it sums it up well, but it sums it up. How's that?
There you go. Well, and as the editor on Kayless, it's like one of the easiest books to edit because it's so good, and it's like I feel like a fan because I get to read it before almost anybody else. So great book, highly recommend it. Let's go ahead and let's talk to Teen Divinity, also known as Barb Kaelberg. Barb, tell us all about Divinity, please.
Well, Divinity is a story of a Marine who's called back home after the mysterious death of his parents to look after his 11-year-old sister, whom he discovers after he returns has mysterious healing powers. And the mysterious death of his parents seemed to be brought about by forces that are interested in getting their hands on divinity. So it's kind of a cross between an adventure and supernatural because nobody knows why she has these powers, where they came from. And there's an evil cabal that would like to get their hands on her for their own purposes. And he ends up going on the run with his little sister to try to protect her from the people who would like to get their hands on him. And this includes not only the evil cabal, but, you know, groups of fanatics or rich mobsters, anybody who could make use of somebody who could heal. And as anybody would like to have somebody available to them to cure all their ills or heal all their loved ones, they go through trials and tribulations and are eventually hooked up in the second issue with Zach, who's the Marine, with his former Marine, Olivia. And so their job becomes to protect Divinity, which is the little girl who can heal. And they go on adventures.
Excellent, excellent. And Divinity is a really unique book. You know, I think it definitely fits in that genre-spanning kind of idea of what Silverline promotes. You know, the heroes are everyday people in extraordinary circumstances and extraordinary abilities. And visually, it's really unique. I like it's hand-colored. It just has a very cool style to it. And the cliffhanger in the first issue is insane. I'm still trying to get Barb to tell me what happens next, but I think I have to wait for the next issue. So we'll see.
Oh yeah, you gotta wait for that. It's
great. Well, we talked to our writing. Yeah, I'll get in line with everybody else, right? Let's see. So we talked about our writing, you know, for our different series. Let's go ahead and talk about the visual side of things. Let's start with Cat and Mouse. You know, I'd like to first start talking to Alex, you know, who's been penciling the series. And I just asked Alex, you know, as an artist, if you can kind of describe your creative process on this specific book, what was unique about working on Cat and Mouse as opposed to, other work you've done, or what's the unique process? What has your experience been on Cat and Mouse?
I think just it was my first actual title, so I penciled both digitally and traditionally for issue 2, and then issue 3 was done fully traditional. So I think that's pretty much the only thing I found different. The Kubrick School, we didn't do a full issue of work, but we did like multiple different scripts and everything, and pretty much any type of method. So it was fun. It was definitely the only thing is actually doing a full issue, I'd say, is the only actual difference.
Definitely. And then let's talk to Wubba Fett, because Wubba is going to also kind of work on the series on this next arc. So Wubba, if you can kind of describe what the process was for you, kind of getting into the world of Cat and Mouse. And I think we also even covered on our Silverline Sunday stream, we also talked about just the reference that goes with writing the story that takes place in New Orleans. But please go ahead.
Yeah. So my whole approach with it was just trying to tell a rolling story the best I absolutely could. I mean, it's I go through a lot of references for it, trying to make sure New Orleans looks correct. Yeah, I mean that to me was the challenging part, to make sure that location and everything, and I got the right mood for what was on the script.
Definitely. Like Roland and we're talking the other day about it, and it's kind of cliche, but you always hear the saying that, oh, the city is a character, and it kind of is cliched, but it really fits the bill with Cat and Mouse having this deep history in New Orleans. I mean, like we always say, ninjas in New Orleans, come on, how can you go wrong? So it's excellent. Let's round out our artistic team on Cat and Mouse as far as coloring. So Roberta, could you please kind of talk about your work on coloring Cat and Mouse and your process, and just whatever you feel free to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you were saying, the city itself is so big of a personality. It's an interesting dynamic to have them stand out and have their interesting story told, and feel the warmth of the city, and I think it's been a process of just trying to spotlight these characters and their confusion with all of the dangers that are happening in the city. And I like that there's just so many opportunities to create different moods, and the art is looking so amazing. So I'm just enjoying the process of starting with the darkness of the night and the life of the city, and then these characters freaking out with all of the danger that is happening. It's just really fun.
Excellent. Yeah, Roland was showing me some of the coloring that you're doing for the upcoming series. And, we're looking at the little details. It's always cool when you see a creative team gelling together, So you had, Wubba's pencils, Barb's inks. And then when you came in, you added your nuances of color on it. And you just point out little things that was really cool, which is like on one of the characters, the bones in the hand. You can see where Wubba kind of alluded to it. Barb added volume with your inking. And then we could even see that you actually would continue the bone, in color. So it's just it was like an excellent relay race. Everybody's just handing it off, the baton, to the next person. So yeah, great work. Well, we talked to teams Cat and Mouse. Let's talk to Mike about the visual elements of his lettering and his graphic design and how it relates to Kayless. Lettering is such an important art, and it's one of those things I would say is somewhat an invisible art. It can guide the eye through the book, or it can make it disjointed. But really, when you think about it, somebody like Mike who's doing the lettering, it's like somebody doing the sound on a film. If it's wrong, everybody notices. If he does what he's supposed to do, only professionals will really tell what's going on. So So, Mike, I don't know if you can comment a little bit on the process of lettering Kayless and how that works for you and so forth.
Well, you're exactly right. I mean, that's my approach to before I even put down the first balloon is the idea that I don't want to be noticed. I mean, if I'm noticed, I did something wrong because, we're all kind of keyed how we read and, going through, balloon to balloon, dialogue to dialogue. You got to keep that in mind and make sure that everything kind of goes in its particular order. And, as tight as Kayless was, I wanted to make sure everything flowed and that you could tell, the pacing of what he had written, and making sure also that, again, I'm not noticed, because by the end of the book, I want to make sure you've read it. If somebody made a comment about the lettering, I must have done something wrong. So yeah, it's a very invisible, very stealthy kind of process to comics. Is that where most everything else is pretty vibrant and you'll notice it. I want to be not noticed. I want to make sure that everything's clear, everything is nice and tight, and that nothing's concealing of the make sure that each panel I'm not concealing something important in the art, because again, it's a visual medium. I don't want to it's show, not tell. You want to make sure that I'm not putting anything over something very vital that's a visual cue. So there's a lot of thinking in it. There's a lot of stuff you when you're putting down your balloons and putting down your sound effects, you have to make sure it's kind of a symbiosis. It's working together, and I guess I'm the glue between the parts. And then again, by the end of the thing, I want to make sure it's very stealthy. That everybody was able to enjoy the book and enjoy the writing and enjoy the art.
Absolutely. We often talk about it. It's like that idea of restraint, and comic books are so bold and powerful, and the idea of restraint is kind of lost sometimes to the novice, right? I always say, the people that have those more supportive roles in elevating the comic book, it's kind of like you don't want to be that guy at the school play who's supposed to be a tree and is walking in front of the spotlight and making a scene. That takes a lot of restraint to kind of sit in the back and be a supporting player, but it makes all the difference. So yeah, definitely.
Like a bass player in a rock band.
Exactly. But I always say, don't be the guy on the guitar in the 1980s music video. Okay, yeah. If it doesn't take much to do this, but man, that guy is hogging the spotlight like nobody's business. So don't be the guitar.
That's right.
For those of you aspiring comic book creators, look it up. 1980s guitar. Okay. All right. So enough of my random reference. We've talked to Team Cat and Mouse. We've talked to Team Kayless. Let's talk to Barb about the visual. And then Barb is in a really unique position because she's going from both angles. She's going from the creating and collaborating with RA on the writing and the storytelling part, and then she's going also on the visuals with the ink. So Barb, I don't know if you can kind of talk about your process and how it relates specifically to Divinity, because you've inked so many books in your storied career, and this is your big project. So please let us know.
Well, when I set out to find an artist for Divinity, I wanted something that was more along the lines of the clean, crisp, simple lines. I'm used to inking more of the 90s looks like Cat and Mouse and other 90s looking books, but I kind of wanted to do a bit of a throwback to a simpler line, something clean. And because Divinity is an all ages book that can appeal to a lot of people, I didn't want it to look too gritty, and I wanted it to be very clean and beautiful, crisp lines. So I started looking around at artists, and I came across Alex Sarabia. He's from Chihuahua, Mexico, and his line work is just phenomenal. I just loved it. It was beautiful, and it told everything that you needed to tell in simple lines, but yet it's very, very dynamic at the same time. It pops out at you, and when you add the colors onto it, it's just stunning. Now I've taken over the colors on issue number 2 as well, so I'm not only co-writing, creator and the inker, but I'm also the colorist now. But I think it lends itself to such a visually appealing style that it kind of jumps out and bites you. And that's what I wanted. I wanted something that would make you stop as you walk by it and go, oh, that's really appealing. And it certainly does that. I've gotten a lot of rave reviews on not only the art, but the writing. So it's kind of a bit of a breakout, and I'm really enjoying that.
Well, that's great. And you know that thing you said about you wanted a little bit more cleaner line work because you wanted to be accessible, you know, to you know, different audiences. You know, the thing that's kind of cool too that I found with reading it is that cleanness, that accessibility actually heightens the danger in that story, because there's a certain vulnerability to Divinity and her brother and all things. And so when the danger comes in, you don't really expect it. It's almost a little jarring in the best way possible, you know? Whereas if Divinity was kind of gritty, you would kind of be getting ready for it. So I think that's excellent. You know, Mike and I were talking on our Sunday stream about the idea of detail, and each book, you know, that we're talking about has their own visual language, their own visual style.
And that's very true, because Cat and Mouse, I think, lends itself to a gritty look. If you've ever been to New Orleans, you know, it's kind of a gritty town. So I think the style that's on Cat and Mouse is perfect for that book, but the Divinity went with a different direction.
Exactly, and there's a certain pace and cadence to each look that fits the genre, fits the title, you know, and all three titles that we're talking about here, you know, do it excellently. So very good. Well, we kind of spoke specifically to, you know, the different creative components and you know, people on our panel, but I'm going to open it up, kind of open up the floor to everybody. And before I do, I'm just looking in the comment section. It looks like Comic Conway went ahead and, you know, just wanted to say, you know, it's great to see more women in the industry. And I'd say, I agree. I would say it's also great to see more women up front in the comic book industry, because for you know, ladies, if I can be so bold, you know, for those of us in the industry, we know that the ladies have been there. I mean, you know, both Barb and Roberta have been doing this for decades. You know, you got Louise Simonson over at Marvel. You got, you know, so many people, and Lucenti. You know, you have all these great contributors to the genre, and they've been there. You know, but it's just so nice that we're seeing them up front and getting credit where it's due. So thank you, Comic Conway, for pointing that out. But I'm a guy, so I think the mansplaining should be over. I don't know if ladies, if you want to comment on that, but you know, this is my time. I have a mute button. I'm going to use it right now.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think that women have a lot to contribute, not only just art-wise, but from a different perspective and point of view. And they can add a lot of richness to storytelling, and maybe bring in a perspective that it hasn't been seen for a while, that maybe kind of break out. I mean, there's only so many times you can tell a story, right? And sometimes you just need a fresh point of view to bring storytelling up another notch, or take it in a different direction that you weren't expecting. So I totally am for more women in comics, and nothing against the guys, because I've worked with guys for 30 plus years, and I've had a blast. I have been treated very well. I have no complaints. In fact, Malibu was nothing but an absolute joy to work with when they gave me my start. But it's always good to see some diversity in the storytelling.
Yeah, and I think I was surprised as well when I was in Malibu how much of a dynamic there was between the different types of women that were there. You know, we had a large amount of I'd say strong female artists and writers, and it was really impressive. And I think that made a good impression on me when I was younger, you know, having that be the reality, because I was always worried that there was a difficulty in breaking into that arena, you know. And
absolutely, and all three of our titles, you know, are no exception in terms of representation and having strong and interesting female characters. You know, obviously Cat and Mouse. We have Mouse, you know, Bobby. We have in Kayless, you know, Castillo, and you know, in Divinity we have Divinity and other characters too. So I mean, you know, it's a great time to be creating comics, and a great time to create comics with these folks. So let's open up the floor a little bit, and you know, feel free to chime in. a question I have for all the creators are, where do you draw inspiration for work on this series? And what I mean is, specifically on the series, I mean, of course you have your mainstays and the people that you like, but it doesn't have to be necessarily complex. Like, I listen to this music when I'm drawing, this issue, or this movie I watched, or this comic book, or this art. What can you kind of give us where your headspace is as far as where you draw inspiration while you're working and creating and coming up with these ideas for Cat and Mouse, Kayless, Divinity? So the floor is open.
For me, I've been having to watch. Well, I don't have to, but I've been choosing to watch a lot more like CSI kind of stuff. I mean, I got the ninja thing down pat. I mean, that's I got that, but the gritty, city look and all that kind of stuff that comes really from watching like detective shows and stuff like that. So I've been doing a lot of that, and then I even kind of switched my music around. I've been just kind of getting the spirit of like New Orleans. I listen to a little bit of jazz.
Nice.
It helps. I mean,
some of that Dixieland jazz.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
It really puts you in the mood while you're drawing it. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's where I'm at when I'm, actually working on it. When I'm working on a page.
Listen to a little New Orleans jazz. That'll get you.
Yep. Listen to that and watch the CSI shows.
Yep.
I mean, you get into the fight scenes. Well, I can throw my metal back on for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's where my inspirations come from. The detective shows, music.
That's good. Well, I like how you talk about the auditory thing, because this idea, and we talk about this in art, and I'm sure it's true in all mediums. This idea that art encompasses all senses. You can look at a painting of an ocean in a museum, and you can hear, if it's done right, you can hear the crashing of the waves. You can smell the salt water in the air. Right. And just the fact that you're listening to that music, it informs your work, whether people realize why they're feeling what they're feeling, but it comes through in the work. So that makes perfect sense.
It does, and I think like we have said before already, New Orleans really does have its own personality. I mean, the graffiti artwork, the way the buildings are set up, it's just a whole character all by itself. So it really helps pull inspiration from things that are unique to that city, like the jazz, stuff like that.
Mm.
Excellent. Anybody else want to share where they draw inspiration from, or what things are informing their creative decisions while they're working on these titles?
Comics.
Reading comics. Which one? Tell us which one.
Any comic. You read the new comics come out, you read an old comic that you have from 20, 30 years ago, and you draw inspiration from it. So you want to draw comics,
Absolutely.
You want to do it.
Definitely. Anybody else? Or let's see, we heard from a little bit of Team Cat and Mouse. Team Kayless, anything? Come on, Brent.
What's funny is I draw inspiration from everywhere and also nowhere. Because like when I'm writing, I have to write in complete silence or I'll be distracted like crazy. So I'm really operating out of my own head. But where I get ideas from is really just whenever I hear, like Kayless, I had the idea of what would happen if astronauts went to another planet and got powers. Well, we already know what would happen if astronauts came to our planet and got powers. You'd have Superman or the Fantastic Four or whoever else. But what would happen if we went somewhere else? And that idea stuck with me for years. And so I just kind of let it sit back there and simmer, and different things would inspire me to add to the story. Like I read this book about the history of the CIA that was really compelling. And suddenly I was like, oh, now I know why they're there. The CIA sent them, stuff like that. So I wasn't looking for answers. They just kind of came through whatever else it was that I was out there doing. So in a way, the way I try to keep inspired is by reading a bunch of different stuff that really doesn't have anything to do with each other, and that helps me a lot. So I think
that's great. And I think one of the common threads between all three of these series is, the common thing is always say, oh, it's superheroes or things done realistically, which I think is kind of played out, right? Because usually, especially in Hollywood, that means slap some black leather on them and it's realistic now, right? But I think what is more important is this idea of superheroes done with authenticity, and each of the stories that we're highlighting here, Cat and Mouse, Kayless, Divinity, there's a certain authenticity to the world that the characters inhabit. All of them are in very realistic worlds with very realistic people in extraordinary circumstances, but there's that authenticity that's kind of the through line of these two series. And so much respect to all the creators. Barb, if you could tell us a little bit about things that informed your creative decisions with Divinity, please.
Well, I think most of the Silverline crew have already realized that Divinity is a personal thing for me. Came up with it a couple of years ago. My brother was diagnosed with cancer 2.5 years ago, and being a dyed-in-the-wool comic book fan, I came up with the inspiration for an adventure series about a girl who could heal, because I was just so focused on if I could have the ability to heal my brother, and that would be everything. What would I do to be able to heal him? And I would do anything. I would do anything, and that's kind of where this kind of all meshed in a dream at one point, and I came up with the character of Divinity. And I'm in Iowa now, taking care of my brother as a caretaker, so it's not going well. But the whole thing became a very personal journey for me to have something that I could pin my hopes on. This girl who could heal anything, and what people would do to get their hands on her, and it just became a natural process to put it into a comic book. So that's where I got my inspiration. It really is about my wishes to heal my brother.
Well, I think that's we appreciate you. We appreciate your candor and all that, and it's also a matter of that comes through in your art, right? I mean, if an artist doesn't put part of themselves in the story or part of their life experience, right, then it's not their art, And so I think that's kind of, if you want to talk about like the secret sauce or the secret ingredient to everything, is you got to put yourself out there. You got to put something of yourself out there. When I used to work in Hollywood, I was speaking one time to the comedian Eddie Griffin, and you would never think that this guy would be so deep, but he said something I think that ties into all creativity, which is just basically, if you have an idea in your head and you have to put it on paper. You have to create it. Okay. Mm-hmm. The only reason that you learn how to ink, color, write, pencil, is because you're trying to translate what's in here and in here outside to somebody else. If not, don't even pick up the pen. I mean, the movie's perfect in your head, the comic book's perfect in your head, everything's completely fine. We spend decades owning our craft so we can tell people what's going on in here, right? And so that's really what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think it's something that can connect with everybody, because who doesn't have somebody they want to help?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sometimes it seems like it's just your story, but then somebody else will say, it's my story too. And soon enough,
exactly,
that's what connects everybody, So, got a little deep here. Okay. But I guess that's a good thing, right? In comic books, that's part of comic books, getting deep. Well, we're kind of starting to wind things up, but let's kind of close up with something, a little bit of a tease, a little bit of a cliffhanger. Can anybody from the team give some hints into what is in store for your series in coming issues? Barb, I'm going to start with you because Big Scary Voodoo. Barb, now's your time. I wanted to know what happens in the second issue, so just feel free to give me the whole outline. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Kidnapping.
Okay. All right. I'll take it. Okay. All right. So Kidnapping in Divinity. Sorry, I kind of cut Wubba off of there, but Wubba said Big Scary Voodoo, or
Yeah. The
Uh-huh,
voodoo,
uh-huh.
scary, eerie voodoo stuff. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Alex, Roland, you wanna chime in, or are we all in agreement? Big Scary Voodoo.
Yeah, well, there's certainly big scary voodoo.
Burning the house down.
That's what I was gonna say. That's exactly what I was gonna say. It's like
Finally.
I can't tell you how many times I heard them complaining about drawing the bad guy's mansion, and so I'm like, okay. And I think Barb might have even said, just burn it down or something like that. So I'm like,
I
we
have to
could
ink
do
this house.
that.
I have to ink this house one more time.
Yeah, so the end scene, the final scene takes place in the villain's mansion in issue number 4. And so yeah, we start a big fire. Oh, Roberta, you get you look forward to coloring a big another big building on fire.
A lot of pretty colors there.
I am getting a lot of fire experience in this group of art. Oh, I love fire though. There's so much energy, and the lighting ideas are just fun.
Yeah,
so,
cool.
Love it.
Well, Roberta, like we mentioned earlier, is working on the Champion and Miss Fury, and we've seen some fire in there, and it's the same writer in both things. So there may be something we don't know about Roland.
Roland has a secret pyromania thing going on.
What dude doesn't like a good fire? Come on,
right? Blowing things up is always a good time.
Yeah, it is fun. Yeah.
So we have kidnapping, big bad voodoo, fire, more fire, and we haven't even talked about what's coming up in Kayless. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and hand it over to more fire and even more fire.
Sure. Okay, I'd say it's the showdown between our hero, an army of terrorists, in the middle of the ball field at Anaheim Stadium, and there's fire involved.
All right.
I think Roland's sold already, so I think we're good to go.
Yes,
we talked about that. Okay, well, let's kind of wind it down because we do have another panel coming. And I leave a little space for transition, but let's finish up. I'm going to have everybody just kind of state your name, state where people can find you online, and let's go ahead. I'm going to start with Alex. Alex, if you feel free to share with people how they can find you online.
Pretty much Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's just my name, Alex Gallimore. It's a Gallimore. That's how you spell the last name. Anywhere you type that into any social media, I'll probably have an account there. So that's the easiest way.
And we're going to rope him back into the live streams.
Yes.
Very good. Very good. Looking forward to it.
I miss seeing his thumbs up.
Yeah. Oh, there
All
it is.
right,
yeah. For those of you that don't know, the reference point is Alex will be doing some stellar penciling work, and the camera is over his shoulder, so we can't see his face, and he's busy focusing. So every now and then we'll see him pull up a post-it note with a thumbs up, just to kind of let us know that he's there and he's in agreement.
He's a bit camera shy, which I was excited when I saw him just before the panel. I'm like, oh, look at this! Yeah, so he's a little camera shy. So
no reason for that. And well, let's go ahead. Let's keep on the cat and mouse pencilers. Let's have Wubba. Wubba, I know you're a hard man to find sometimes, but if people are interested, where can they look at your work?
I'm so into my work on cat and mouse. Don't want to be bothered, No, you can catch me on the live stream on Sundays. Well, most of the time.
Okay. And also you can find his work on the Silverline Comics website, on our Facebook page, on our Facebook group. You'll be seeing more and more of Wubba's work. Let's go ahead and Barb, if you be so kind as to let everybody know where they can find you.
Okay, my name is Barbara Kilberg with 2 A's in the last name, Kaalberg, and I'm the only Barbara Kilberg on the net. So I'm not hard to find. If you Google me, you'll find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, DeviantArt, and about 20,000 other websites. So it's easy to find me. Look me up.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, and Roberta, if you'd be so kind as to let people know where they can find you.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Roberta Conroy, but I'm on Facebook and Instagram under Roby Conroy, ROBI, and you can find that. And that's about it. So there's other Roberta Conroys on social, so that's why.
Okay, and you can also find her on our Sunday stream where she shows her work and contributes. So Mike Belcher, if you could please let us know where they can find you and also where they can find Man in the Mask, because it's a great book.
You can find me personally at Mike W. Belcher over Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And you can find Man in the Mask at amkcomics.com. If you were looking for a nice old-fashioned masked man yard, there's some free comics there for you to read.
Right. Good stuff.
Excellent. Excellent. And Brent, if you could be so kind as to let people know where they can find you.
You can find me on Facebook. I am on Instagram at brent.vector. You can also find me at my website, brenttlarson.com. You buy, where would they go? The Silverline website to get
copies?
There you go.
You get copies of Silverline Comics, all of the ones that we've talked about today. You go to indieplanet.com/Silverline.
Excellent. And Roland, if you'd be so kind as to let people know where they can.
Absolutely. You can find me on the Book of Face. You can find me at Man Roland on Twitter, and I'm on Instagram, but I think it's just Roland Man. I don't know. I'm not there often enough, and of course on the Silverline pages.
Okay, and on the Silverline Sunday stream as well.
That's right.
So again, I'm Kurtis Fujita. You can find me online. You can find me as Kurtis Fujita on Facebook. You can also find me. I'm a martial arts instructor. You can find me through my martial arts information. You can find that on YouTube, Instagram as TigerCrane805, and that's pretty much it. But we want to thank everybody for joining us. We have more content coming right up after this. But we want to thank all of our fans, and we want to thank you folks for supporting us. Like I said, we have all these ideas in our head, but we put a lot of work into it because of you guys. We want you to see what we experience, what our thoughts are, what our dreams are, all the things.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate everybody's support. So until next time, make
my
mind
Silverline.
There we go.